We have a grandstand seat on all these kind of horrible tragedies. We're taken into the confidence of some people, whilst in this case, for example, the Moorland murder hunt, many people are saying, what is behind it? Newspapermen know from the beginning what's behind it, so therefore they're woven into the pattern of the whole thing, Mike. They're woven into the pattern, and they don't even tell their own families because some of the details are so gruesome and so shocking that it's almost that the average public couldn't comprehend that these kind of things go on.
I think, gentlemen, at this stage, I better say no further comment.
Yes.
With due respect.
Can you give us some indication of what's going to happen tomorrow?
No, we've not made our plans at the moment.
Why are you digging again, sir?
We're looking for evidence.
This is for what? Quarter.
Oh, that I can't say. Evidence in connection with our investigations.
Yeah.
For the record, Mr. Benfield, no charge yet in connection with Leslie Downey.
Not at this stage yet, no.
We're finding this difficulty in press conferences, Mr. Benfield, with respect. We're turning up and we're getting just paragraphs. We're not getting to see anybody. Can we tomorrow be assured of perhaps we can see a senior officer who may answer questions?
Well, gentlemen, I do try and cooperate with you, which I want to do, and I want to be helpful to you. But I can't give you any more than I've given you.
But there's more to a press conference than this, sir, with respect. We can print things in the papers tomorrow morning which might affect you at a later stage of your inquiries, and we don't do this.
Well, it might be prejudicial. This is something which you want to avoid, obviously.
Yes, I obviously want to avoid anything which is prejudicial, and I think at this stage I can't go any further. Sorry.
No, except that we want some press conference whereby somebody can say, well, don't use that, it's rather dangerous information.
An off-the-record press conference sort of thing.
Well, what I'll try and do, I will try and give you a conference tomorrow at 11 o'clock.
11. Could you, Mr. Benfield, would you describe this as a brutal murder?
I'm not prepared to say it's a murder.
Well,
I'm not prepared to say it's a murder.
What are you prepared to say that it is?
I cannot, of course, say that until I have the pathologist's report.
But the indications are that whatever it is, it was in a natural death.
Indeed.
But how unnatural?
Well, I can't tell you that.
Will there be any digging at this house in Hyde? In the garden?
I don't know yet.
I've seen reporters here who I thought were dead.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's said that some of them are actually.
The trouble with this story is that there's so many points to go to. You've got Lancashire, Yorkshire, Cheshire, the Derbyshire border.
It was bloody cold up on the moors yesterday, though, wasn't it?
Yeah. It's cold. Well, it's been cold all week, I'll tell you. But thank God, that's it. Look at the sun shining now.
Yeah. It's a good job the pub's pretty near anyway. That's been one consolation on this job. I'm standing out. See, that woman over there stopped us going in her garden now. Her husband said we were ruining all these flowers, trampling all over the garden.
On Christmas Eve, that's the first time I felt a bit funny over them. We took our Patty out pretty late for a drive, and they went on the moors, and then they brought Patty back, be about 1:30, and I let her go and stay late with it being Christmas Eve. And then they went back to sleep on the moors all night in the van, and I couldn't see any sense in that whatsoever, because when I was in the house, there was a lovely fire on, and it was freezing cold outside. And that's the first time that I began to think that it seemed very still.
Well, it was the following morning after my wife left. I came down about 8:30. I went to draw the curtains. And to my surprise, as you know what it would be like if you're getting up early in the morning and see your garden filled with all police. We were down here watching telly until it was 3 minutes to midnight. We got the time check. Well, I went around the back and see that all doors was fastened and windows. Well, I went upstairs and went to the children's room, and I heard clearly that there was a fight. Well, I stood there for a minute or so, well, and what I heard, it was, I would say, furniture's moving, you know, when rustling and tugging of feet, I would say. I know it was a heavy fight, like, you know, and things knocking around, like. And in that time, I heard a voice. Well, the voice had said, Myra, Myra. So after hearing her voice, and I didn't hear it anymore, I said, well, probably it's between Myra and her boyfriend. Well, I left and went back into the children's bedroom. So it was when my wife continued into the bath, and when she came back, she said to me that she had heard a groaning sound. Well, I asked her how long it was, you know. Well, she said it didn't last long. So really, we didn't take it for anything. We just said, well, probably it's just one of those domestic affairs.
I thought they were a sporting couple. That I knew Myra had a gun, and I definitely thought that Myra was going shooting up there, or exercising the dogs. They absolutely worshipped the dog. To them, it was a baby. And at Christmas, she made them all a lovely little Christmas present up, properly done up in paper and string with the names on, and from Ian and Myra written on to whichever child. And each present really suited that child, with them being different ages. And I thought how nice it was.
I have always read the paper about these killers, but never have I ever have the experience or knowledge of a person or seen a person who is of that type. So it really, I must say that they just look ordinary like anybody. He didn't look different from the next door neighbor in any sense. His action, he goes to work. Well, there's only one difference I will say to him, I could say, and I've seen it with other people. He wasn't sociable.
He's about 5'10", with a bit of a stoop, and very quiet. And if you said hello to him, he'd always say hello back. But he couldn't look anybody straight in the face. To me, they seemed ideal neighbors.
For the other people on the estate, I should imagine that it will spoil everything. This thing is not a thing that can be lived down in a short while. One will able to forget so much, but still, that spot will be here.
They're absolutely disgusted. And they're also frightened because you sort of don't know what people are.
They are very young. They can't understand. And I never try to really let them understand. But as time rolled by and they reached the age of understanding, I would let them know in the simplest way, you know, what we were living beside when they were only a baby, which they at the time could be one of the victims. You know what it is. I was taken back and said, well, one never know what can happen next door.
As you know, we're not allowed to talk about it. There's a notice on the door, and it says we're not allowed to talk about it, and we don't know very much in any case.
What were they like?
Well, I'm sorry, I can't tell you. I think you'll have to get permission off the managing director.
You're a free agent.
Yes, I know I am, but we don't really know very much at all. And it isn't a very nice thing to be associated with in any case. Well, I'm ashamed of being associated with them even in such a small way.
Excuse me, could you,
I couldn't.
Could you not help me?
Nothing, absolutely nothing.
He used to bob in, you know, and just have his bet every day. And he was a pretty fair punter, you know, shrewd and all. Backed horses, like, you know, that was well quoted in forecast, you know, second favourite, first favourite, each way. Well, them crafty devils. But he was a really dowdy fella. He just used to come in and put his bet on the counter, and he never answered if you said good morning, you know, good afternoon, or whatever time of the day may be. And that's the way he used to carry on day in and day out. I don't think I ever conversed with other people that was in the place. He looked so miserable, and I think he was rather tight, you know, trying to strangle the Queen with his coins, you know, and all this sort of business. He wouldn't be my kettle of fish. I wouldn't go for a drink with him. If he ever would have offered me, I don't think he'd ever offer anybody a drink. Well, the betting slip, oftener than not, he wrote them at shop. He's where he works. But if he ever had a bet here, he used to come round here, away from the counter, and write them there. And we used to put Gorgon on it. G-O-R-G-O-N on it. He did start with Gog and Zola, and then he dropped the Zola off, like, you know. Put Gorgon on then.
And to me, she was just a normal girl. She used to talk to the people that came in here. You know, then children played in here, and she spoke to them. I never saw anything wrong. And the only thing I used to think about, she was a bit common. Short skirts and low necks, you know, and bleached hair. But otherwise, I can't really say she was any different from anybody else. I don't think she'd get the chance of coming into the shop again. I don't think the people in Gorton would allow her. As the people in here feel, it comes in here, the customers feel now. You know, it's a terrible feeling, really.
Have you signed the pit boot that's going around now?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Signed it for more good, too.
Well, hanging's too good for them.
Well, it is. It's too quick.
It is. They want to torture them.
A tooth for a tooth. And a life for a life. They should take a life for a life. That is providing they've done it, which we don't know yet. But they ought to let Mr. Downey do what he wants to, and they ought to give them people to the people that have found those children.
That's Mr. Downey.
Let him go and get him.
I'll kill you. Kill you. Come on.
Pull yourself together. Pull yourself together.
Let him go. It's only natural. You should have let him get them. The poor fella. You do the same yourself. He's only got half. It's a problem that little girl. Yeah. It's only natural.
Please love me.
Leslie Ann Downey was a bright, intelligent little girl, and like all normal children, she was trustful too. It was because of that she is no longer with us. Her trust was betrayed. Someone committed a foul crime, and we all hope and pray that the person or persons responsible for this evil deed will be brought to justice and receive the punishment they deserve. But this deed is not only a crime, it is a terrible sin. and the person or persons responsible will have to reckon with the divine court of justice and face the wrath and punishment of God. And that, I fear, will be very terrible indeed.
We searched all of Manchester because I got some nasty letters off people, you know, saying Leslie would be found here at such a spot. And whenever I got those letters, I went down and searched the spot myself. So when we didn't find nothing and the police didn't, up to this most search, I had every hope that she would be alive. That somebody had just taken a fancy to her and taken her off, you know.
At the beginning when John was missing, well, I hadn't any hope really, although with nothing being found, I bought clothes as the months went by, bigger sizes, you know, to fit him in case he came back. But the real fear I had was that I wouldn't see him again. But Christmas presents were bought and birthday presents, which I kept. I've not slept very well, especially this last week. And last night when they said clothes were found, I was frightened of the next news coming on and frightened of the knocker going. Danny used to sleep in John's room, and that's the eldest boy I have now. He's 13. And he was upset when he had to sleep alone, so I had to move one of his brothers in with him. And the youngest boy, Christopher, he's 5 now. He was only 3 when John was missing, but he remembers him carrying him up to bed every night, you know, on his back. He talks about him a lot. At first he talked about when John comes back, but he's seen me be upset, and he doesn't talk about him coming back now. When John came on TV the other night, and every time his photograph is flashed on, I don't break down, but my husband does. He really sobs. And the other night when John's photograph came on, he had a really good cry, and then he shouted at all the children and said, "You must never be out as soon as dusk comes, you know. You must all be in the house. You've plenty of rooms to play in without being on the streets." I think that parents, if they can remember, should spend 5 minutes every day, if it can't be done in schools, in warning the children. Just as they have to learn to read and write, I think they should be learned this.
I could never believe she's dead, even though I've been to identify her. It's still very hard to believe. She was so beautiful that I didn't think anybody could possibly harm her, you know. It's just been a terrible 10-month ordeal that I hope no mother ever has to go through. And to identify a child like I did, it was terrible. And I wish mothers would take notice, because they don't. I put an appeal in the paper to mothers about the children, but it still didn't make any difference. But I only hope through this that they will take notice that it could happen again. There's not just one man or one woman in the world that does these things, you know.